to Everweird and my solo playthrough of the Gunderholfen Mega Dungeon using BECME D&D rules from the 1980s and 90s, as all compiled in the Rules Cyclopedia. It is session 11, and we're going to get straight into it. Talyra walks out across that railless walkway towards the spiral staircase in the distance, knowing that on the other side is probably the escape, if you would call it that, from the hobgoblin lair that they have just made their way through. They've taken a few losses. This is all on Talyra's mind. There is this pull for deeper adventure. And as she takes a couple of steps onto that walkway, she feels this strong hand on her shoulder. Her companions have all kind of shrugged and fallen in line a moment before, seeing her intention to cross, but she feels this hand and this pull, and Virago says softly, "Not right now, Talyra. You know the plan. You told us all. We're not fighters, we're thieves. My blood is boiling in the same way that yours is, with the excitement to proceed and find more adventure. But not right now. We need to make our way back with our treasure and re-equip ourselves for what is ahead." Talyra, it kind of snaps Talyra out of that moment where she had been feeling exactly what Virago described, this excitement in her body, wanting to proceed to a deeper layer of this abandoned dwarven stronghold, if you can call it abandoned. They've found monsters everywhere they've gone. She takes a deep breath and turns to face her friend and nods, and they walk off of that walkway, and they proceed back through this passageway where they had been. The passage was finished. Part of the dwarven settlement up here, they had walked down a sort of a cave section of it, a natural cave section, and they come to this narrower hallway which leads up to a room where they had been before. They have not explored here to the north. They look at each other. They know the seriousness of every move they make now, but they nod and they light a torch and decide to head around this corner. They were being pursued, but that person was several rounds behind them. It is 10 a.m. on this morning of the month of Corn, the 27th. So they light that torch, and the 8 of them head around this corner, or at least peek around it. What they see is that this passageway extends beyond the reach of their torchlight, but there seems to be a turn off to the right that they cannot see what lies beyond there. So they creep to this corner and they peer around. What they see initially is that this is one of those areas where the finished dwarven walls kind of break off into somewhat natural walls and a natural cave, even though the floor remains finished and stone. They will all listen there at the corner to see if they hear anything. I have 8 members in my party. The 7 who are not thieves are represented on the D6s. One of them hears noises, and Talyra, my thief, does not. But what they hear are quiet voices, what sounds like young hobgoblins, if they had to guess. Peering a little farther in, just making sure that their torchlight doesn't get too far in there, they can see that there is some kind of light somewhere, coming from somewhere in there. I can see it on the map. They don't know. It's just glowing because there's a barricade of rocks about 10 feet into this tunnel. Hearing these voices, they cover their torch as best they can without actually dousing it. They probably just head to the other wall and proceed north. There are a lot of voices there. They don't really want to get involved with a lot of young hobgoblins, for sure. As they proceed up this passageway, although I put a little crook in it, it does proceed straight on the map. They see a door ahead of them whenever their light shows that about 30 feet out. Although we can see on the map how this connects, and they have explored other sides of this. They've been up this northeastern passage and seen that door there. They've been in this and gone to this eastern door and listened there and heard voices. They're not entirely sure that this is the same room they've listened at before, so they're going to listen again. A couple of them who are not Talyra hear something, hear voices. They hear much the same sound that they did hear up here. It sounds like a little bit of quiet carousing. What's going on in there are some hobgoblins are drinking and gambling. So they're hearing a bit of noise in there. It's not out of hand, but it is present. They sneak back down this hall, and they're basically going to go back the way they came through this. I believe this was a hidden door right here. But they know that something here to the west had been pursuing them. They'd heard footsteps. They'd heard something when they threw the switch that opened this door. Something was alerted. So as they crouch at this corner, Faqual will be the one carrying, my magic user, he will be the one carrying the torch, and everyone else draws an arm up, so they're ready with weapons as they go around here. They creeped it into this hallway. I'll say another turn has passed in the dungeon, and they're going to walk up to that door. I'm not really sure if that door closes automatically once they walk through. I don't know if they closed it. I'm sure they probably closed it. There's a bit of confusion for me in here. I think what I interpreted as this, it's funny, on the map it looks like this door is the secret door, but in the description it looks like this western door is supposed to be the one that's secret. No, I see the secret door. It's farther down this hallway. So although they were able to, perhaps that map is just showing me that this is a locked door. The door they went through may not have been secret, and the movement they heard may not have been in pursuit of them, but just other hobgoblins moving around their lair. They're not really sure what to make of it, so they're going to do the same thing. They're going to listen again at that door and see if they hear anything. They do this in sort of groups of two. It's not... And Talyra does hear something as well, or, is as sure as anyone can be that they've heard whatever could be over there. This room appears to be empty now. Just going to check that with a 1 in 6 encounter. Yeah, nothing is there. They walk into this room where they have been before. It looks like a living quarters. There are several bedrolls and a couple of straw beds on the floor, and there was a quiver containing 13 arrows, although we picked that up. They know they can head north and join up with this natural cavern system, proceed the way they had come in. Their purpose is escape at this point. They feel like they've kind of mapped everything. In fact, I'll say they take a turn in this room where they feel relatively safe. At least they can watch the one exit. They take a turn, complete their mapping, feel secure about where they are, and decide in whispered talk. Talyra says, what's our move, Virago? And Virago says, like I said, I feel the same pull you do to adventure further in here and see what we can find. But I think it is close to midday. Perhaps we should get back to where we feel secure, where we left that armory, and assess things there. Talyra says, I'm going to follow you. You pulled me back from the brink. So with that, they make their decision to speedily move through here and get out, because they have left a stash of hobgoblin arms in the goblin lair, where this hallway connects the hobgoblin lair to the goblin lair, and they have all the arms locked in this room here. What they need to do is move quickly north and then west through the prison, and then they will take this southern collapsed tunnel back to that front room and out. They know there are a lot of chances for hobgoblins along this route. They initially heard a few in this room, created a distraction here with some firebombs, and drew those hobgoblins out into their sort of guard rotation. When they snuck down and then back into this room, they did not see those hobgoblins, so they assumed they sort of did the entire circuit before returning. Nonetheless, pretty good chance that there are hobgoblins in that room. They sneak forward back through this area where they had actually killed a hobgoblin guard in there. I forgot about that. I believe that's true. At least that's what's marked on keeping my notes in several different places here. They go to that door. They listen again. None of the non-thief party hears anything, nor does Talyra. So, if they had stopped to listen at this door, they would have heard, they knew there was some light escaping under the door. There were some voices in there. So they would have made it quickly up here, but perhaps that distraction has sort of thrown them off, and they don't think they hear anything on the other side here. They open the door, arms at the ready, and proceed in there. This is where the 2 hobgoblin guards stood before. I think there's than a 1 in 6 chance that those hobgoblins are back here. No, I think it's a 1 in 6 because the encounter table here is a 1 in 6 every hour, and there are constantly hobgoblins patrolling. So they have not returned, at least those two haven't, nor or any others. So my party moves quickly. It's another 60 feet or so up to this corner. They will pause, peer around at this door, which was the prison cell, the single cell where they rescued a human from within there. A couple of them, Talyra and let's say Virago and another, creep up and listen at that door. They can also peer in, but they're below the window. So if there's anything in there, they're pretty sure they heard it. Have hobgoblins returned there? Yes. There are now 6 hobgoblins in there. Well, here's a great chance, first of all, for me to run. They're hearing more voices in here than they did hear gambling. They don't know about this door to the east off this room where the gamblers were. Do they want to chance it? I think 6 hobgoblins is too much for them to try to get through the prison cell here. At first, I thought they're going to try what they didn't think of before, which was have their golem pitch a whole bunch of burning oil into this room, like, one after the other, just basically taking any hits the hobgoblins might give, but scaring the hobgoblins out of there. But with 6 of them, there's 8 of my party, 6 hobgoblins. I think they feel the odds are against them. I think they might want to head down here and chance it with this door. They retreat back around this corner, and Virago tells Talyra, I hate to suggest it, but I think our best bet might be going through that door where we heard the carousing going on. Maybe we can surprise them enough that the odds are in our favor. In addition to that, they know, because they've been in this northeastern hallway, that this other door they heard the same sounds. And down here they heard the same sounds. So they could split their party to the south and the north doors and this east and basically surround these guards on all sides. The northern one is really easy to do. The southern one is a lot of distance. That's a big risk if they do it. Within all of this, another turn in the dungeon passes. They're maybe not taking a literal 10 minutes, but there is time while they, hide in the darkness and discuss their plans. That's what they're going to do. They are going to split into 3. So 3 of the hirelings, commanded by Grebe of the Doba High Division, are going to go to this southern door. They are going to take, I don't think I have much burning oil left, actually. Oh no, I restocked. I'm good. I've got a lot of burning oil. 13 burning oils. I think they're going to take 6 of them right there. Those who go in this northern hall, they're going to hide out here. They can take Faqual, who can stand in this hallway and pitch burning oil down here. Let me make sure this room, I believe, was unoccupied. This room to the northeast. Yep, it was unoccupied. It was this side room off to the west where there was 1 hobgoblin lounging on a mat. So they're fairly certain this is... but there's a doorway, and they don't know about that doorway. Was that the kitchen? They did hear the sounds of a kitchen in there, so there could be, if there's too much noise here, they could attract anyone that's in that kitchen. What might be smarter is if we pinch them right here. So thinking that they would come out and up this way, I could have a few people waiting here to drop burning oil right down this hallway if they run up that way. Same for the southern hallway, and then I'll have my main force here at the west. Basically, Blaine probably will... Blaine has the best swing with that +1 to his strength. Talyra, Virago, Blaine, and Grebe, I think, are going to be right here at the western door. Blaine is going to open the door. They're going to throw burning oil in. Presumably, those hobgoblins will race north and south, and as soon as those doors open, they will be greeted by more burning oil. We're just going to keep up the burning oil while Zenith and Talyra fire arrows into this room, trying to take down the hobgoblins. This is going to be noisy, for sure, and I know there are certain risks with that, and they also don't know what is here, but they felt like there were fewer voices in this room. So that's what they're going to do. I don't see how the hobgoblins in there are not surprised. This is the guard post in Gunderholfen. It says they will not hear a fight in the room outside, so they are pretty noisy. but hobgoblins from another area will arrive if noisy combat occurs here. Of course, my party doesn't know that. Okay, so yeah, I misspoke. Grebe, Evelyn, and Ballad are going to this southern door. So as they walk down there, I'm going to roll an encounter to see as they sneak along. Do they encounter everything? Yep, they encounter something. They encounter 3 hobgoblins. So as they come south through here, some hobgoblins come in to the north, whether it's out of this room, one of these entrances. They have lit another torch. I should mark that. And that is bad news. So my party's really getting pinched here, despite trying to be the pinchers. Is either side surprised by this encounter? There are 3 hobgoblins. Yellow is my party. Other is the hobgoblins. I am surprised. Okay, so Grebe, Ballad, and Evelyn proceeding south here are surprised by 3 hobgoblins who suddenly come around this corner. That's no good. So they open this door, think everything's fine, and 3 hobgoblins surprise them. Those hobgoblins are, does 80 feet away make sense? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. No, it doesn't. So they're probably just at the end of this right here. The hobgoblins get here, my parties come in here, and that's about the distance at which they're going to have this encounter. We roll for initiative, see who moves first. We do. We take all of our movement and retreat. We tell everyone in this room there are hobgoblins behind us. Our intention now is not to go get stuck with these 6, but to go around this corner. We could also hide behind this curtain here, but we fear whatever is in this room. Yeah, Talyra says, how many? And Grebe gives the signal, 3. But they have to do some quick thinking. They let that door close behind them, certain that the hobgoblins are close on their tail. They have literally like 10 seconds to make a decision. They're going to fight those hobgoblins right here in that doorway. So everyone in this room turns around, sees those hobgoblins. Hobgoblins spend their movement. If they run, they can get in this room. I guess that's what they're going to do. They run up to this door and throw it open, and it's now a new initiative. The hobgoblins get to go first. There are 3 hobgoblins. I'm going to play them off as these others here that have the ensues. They come through. The point of me having a retinue of fighters is that they are kind of always the front line. So the first one opens that door and swings at Evelyn, misses. The next one swings at Ballad. A 10 is not going to do it. Just making sure they have a THACO of 18. And the third one's going to swing at Grebe. Also misses. Thank goodness, because those did a lot of damage if they would have hit. So now we have the chance to open up. So Zenith and Talyra will fire their bows. Zenith hits for 3 points of damage. Talyra, misses. We have backed up a little bit, but are we far enough back that Faqual could throw burning oil? I don't think so. Instead, Faqual tries something that he has only tried once before, and that is he begins chanting and weaving his hands in the air as a missile of arcane magic appears between his hands and fires out at the second hobgoblin. That is the magic missile spell. Once again, only doing 2 points of damage, but it should definitely freak those hobgoblins out a bit. And with that, my fighters charge in for their melee. Blaine swinging the warhammer. Ooh, wow, that was pretty dicey, but a 15 is going to hit them. Yep. So 3 points of damage on that one. Virago with their sword. 18 and 3 points of damage takes out the first hobgoblin completely. Grebe misses horribly. Evelyn. Nope, that is not going to hit. Almost hits. About 11 is not going to hit. So a couple of clashes in that melee. We are all crowded around this door. Faqual, of course, is going to draw out that flask of burning oil for the next round. 2, the hobgoblins get to go first. Swinging at Evelyn. 10 misses. Swing it at Ballad. 16 is going to hit Ballad. Ballad is down on hit points. This is going to take Ballad out. Balad goes to 0. And I am trying the death saving mechanic right now. We'll see what happens. I believe I'm instructed to roll immediately as a death save, which is a 14, 12. Balad goes down. Seeing their companion fall takes that morale hit to my party, but the third one has yet to swing. Here it comes at Grebe. 13. I'm going to re-roll that cracked die. 13 is not going to hit, though. Grebe has a 3 AC. Third one clanks off Grebe's armor. Their companion has fallen. Faqual yells, "Get back," and throws a flask of burning oil at the biggest one here. Misses, but there's now a fire right here within the doorway. Through that fire, Talyra shoots an arrow. It does hit for 1 point of damage. It helps, but doesn't take it out. Zenith, through that fire, hits for 2 points of damage. Same thing, it helps, but does not take down that second one. Blaine is very close to this fire, nonetheless, swings in there. 15 plus the hobgoblin. Yep, that's going to hit. Takes out one of them completely. And Virago, with their sword, misses. Who am I missing? Talyra, Zenith, Grebe, Evelyn, and Grebe? Don't know. Here we go. Miss from Grebe and a miss from Evelyn. There is one hobgoblin left. I roll initiative. It gets to go first. I roll morale. 6. This thing stays in the fight. They do not know when to drop. It swings at Evelyn. 8 misses. Okay. So now everyone brings down their hammers, so to speak. Evelyn misses. Grebe hits. 5 points of damage, takes it down. The book specifies that the hobgoblins in here do not hear fighting out here because of their gambling and drinking and presumably the thick doors. We don't have a chance to mourn Balad. We just grab the equipment off of him that we can. Do the hobgoblins here head towards me? No. For whatever reason, those 6 hobgoblins in there are either staying there or splitting up and going west, but they're not headed south to my location. We're going to try to force our ways through this door. Talyra and Virago exchange very tense looks. They know that they did not proceed to the second level because they thought this was the safer way, and they've lost someone already. They decide on a new plan of attack, which is put half of them at this door, half of them at this door. They don't care about the south door. If those hobgoblins flee to the south, they don't care because it will take them several rounds to get up and around here. Grebe puts her hands on Evelyn's shoulders and says, "We got to get out of here for Balad." They head north and around this corner. They take Faqual, who has the flasks of burning oil. I need to mark one of those off. They each have spears, Grebe and Evelyn. So the 3 hirelings... No. I need Zenith up there. Grebe, Zenith, and Faqual come up here. Talyra, Virago, Blaine, and Evelyn stay here. They don't know exactly how to time this out. The ones in the north are just going to be listening in for this door to get kicked in. Evelyn's going to be the one that kicks it in. Evelyn kicks that door in. Talyra throws in a flask of burning oil. It is a direct hit on one of the goblins here, doing 4 points of damage. It bursts into flames. Everyone here up in the north hears that sound, this like brief chaos. Yeah, it actually killed one of them outright. I mean, that absolutely surprises them, right? So we roll initiative now. I suppose that is the surprise. I don't totally understand if I should just run in at this, but we roll initiative. 3, they get to go first. They check morale. One of them is on fire. 5, they don't think anything of it. They just, they keep fighting. Evelyn is out there, so Evelyn and Virago are the front line right here. One of them jumps up and swings a falchion. Natural 20 and a 5 really hurts Evelyn, but she does have 6 hit points, so she is still up, although really badly damaged. Second one sort of drunkenly swings at Virago. 15 might actually hit Virago. Nope. Oh, it does. They have an 18 Thaco, don't they? Sure do. Virago, for the first time in this adventure, drops to 0. Now I realize I just had Balad drop to 0. without giving everyone a turn in that round to administer a healing potion. That is what I meant to do. I guess that's what I mean to do, is at the end of that round is when Ballad should make the death save. And same with Virago. Seeing Virago get hit and fall, Talyra screams, pulls a healing potion out of her pouch, dropping her bow and arrows, and immediately runs over to Virago, pours that down their throat. Virago pops up with all of their hit points. I feel like I should retcon this a little bit because I didn't have that chance with Ballad. I had Ballad do the death save immediately. So I don't know whose attack I could retcon to take that back, but Ballad, let's just say, is sort of out of this fight, resting against the wall with 3 hit points. A little messy. I don't like that I did that, but I'm still getting used to how to do death save mechanics in basic D&D. We've got a lot of chaos on our hands. The original plan was these 3 were thinking this door would open. When it doesn't, I don't think they care. These people who are around the hallway, Grebe, Faqual, Zenith, they hear all this commotion. They hear this scream of Talyra. Faqual heads south and yells back up. In other words, heads right here and sees Virago down. Talyra administering a healing potion, screams, "Virago's down!" So Grebe and Zenith are going to abandon their post and run back around on their movement. That was just the hobgoblins' turn. They struck out and hit. I'll say because of the commotion within the doorway, the third one doesn't really get a swing, but it is definitely there with a halberd ready to swipe at my PCs. It is my PC's turn. Talyra is out. Her whole action is administering to Virago. Virago's down. Ballad's down, I'm going to say. So Evelyn has to come through with a sword. Evelyn swings at one of those. Natural 20 hits, 6 points, kills one of them outright. Will Zenith get there in time? I believe Zenith can get around there. It is right at the edge of 30 feet. She is knocking an arrow, sees one of those, fires 14, plus their AC is a 19. That hits for 4 points of damage, takes one of them to half HP with that shot. We're finally coming through on a couple of things. Blaine steps in with his warhammer and takes a swing at the third one. 5 is not going to do it. Grebe can't get there. Basically, like Grebe, the end of this 30 feet is right here. So Grebe runs up 40 feet, I guess, is their encounter movement. But I think with the scrum right in that doorway, Grebe can't get there. So it's a real mess in here. And Faqual has used his spell for the day, doing 2 hit points of damage. Rolling initiative. 2. It's the hobgoblins again. They've seen 2 of their number drop, and one of them go to half health. Morale. 4. They stay in it. Okay. The swing at Evelyn. Natural 20. 1 hit point drops Evelyn. The other swings at Virago. 15 is going to do it, and 5 hit points knocks Virago down again. Talyra is screaming and shouting profanities at these hobgoblins. Talyra is screaming and shouting, not thinking there may be more hobgoblins in all of these rooms. We are definitely in that fail state of things are going wrong, but we've had a few good shots. Evelyn's down. Grebe can get in there on this turn, but Zenith is going to take another shot. Misses. Ooh, this is bad. Talyra is going to give another health potion to Virago. Back to full health. Virago's having a real heck of a day here. Down and up, down and up. Blaine. Does Blaine drag Evelyn out and give a health potion? No. Blaine yells to Grebe, heal Evelyn up. No. They're going to yell that to Faqual. Faqual, grab a health potion out of my bag and make yourself useful. Blaine comes in with the warhammer. 10 is not going to do it. Swings, clanks off the armor of that hobgoblin, tight in the scrum of this doorway. Grebe comes in with a spear. 6, just can't get into that scrum. Faqual runs up, grabs a health potion and starts pouring it down Evelyn's throat. 2 points of healing. to them. And of course, Talyra and Faqual are trying to pull Evelyn and Virago out of the line of fire here. That was 2 more health potions. I'm down. Not great. We are pretty trapped in here. If we run up, we know there's 6 hobgoblins in there. There's only 2 hobgoblins in front of us. Here comes that darn initiative. 1 through 3, they go first. They go first again. They're seeing these tenacious humans and demi-humans around them. Their morale stays put. They want to kill us. They are drunk. They are acting with this like relentless violence. Swing at Grebe. 18 is going to hit for 2 points of damage. Grebe fortunately has 6 HP, loses a third of her health, but is still up. Second one swings at Blaine. They had gotten in the scrum. Got to re-roll that cracked die, and 11 is not going to get there. Faqual is going to be able to drag Evelyn out of the scrum. Talyra is able to drag Virago out. I mean, technically Virago could fight on their turn right now. I think they might do that. It's hard to imagine in 6 seconds being dropped to 0 HP, getting a health potion, coming back up. I definitely want to look up the healing rules for Beckme, because that seems a little abrupt, and it's strange to me that basic D&D would function in that very video gamey way that modern D&D does. But nonetheless, I'm going to take any advantage I can right now. So Grebe swings. I'm going to reroll that cracked die. 19. Great. Drops one of these hobgoblins. Zenith fires a bow in there. 16. Drops. No, it doesn't drop, but hits the other one. It is badly, badly hurt. Virago, aching, stands up, swings their sword at that other one, misses. Talyra screams, fires another arrow, misses. Faqual is out of the business. Did I have Blaine? And I believe Blaine already swung. I believe that's everybody. So this hobgoblin in here has 2 hit points. I don't know why it wouldn't flee. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that it would relentlessly keep fighting. It is watched 3 of its companions get slain. This is one of those places in the combat phases where I'm not sure how much. Obviously, a dungeon master has as much latitude as they want to give themselves, but as a solo player, I want to resist metagaming. So nonetheless, I think this hobgoblin is going. They see it turn and run. Does it head west or south? I'm going to do like a. Okay. 1 through 3, it heads, east. 1 through 3, it heads east. 4 through 6, it heads south. 6, it heads south. It thinks that the best place to get reinforcements is down here. It runs through this door. My party, it's chaos. They're all bleeding. They're hurt. There's smoke from this fire that they started a couple of rounds before. Nonetheless, they bang through this. Zenith and Talyra do clock a couple of these nice longbows that are in this room and grab those and the quivers as they can. Actually, Talyra is probably more focused on pulling raiding the pockets of these, but is not going to spend time to go through the pockets and wallets of every hobgoblin here. So they grab 16 gold. Zenith grabs 2 composite longbows. I don't think that's a thing in basic, but it'll just function as a longbow doing d8 damage. They're going to ignore pretty much everything else in there and go to this door to the east. They don't take time to listen at it. They just kick it open, and they see in front of them a short hallway with a portcullis visible and a little mechanical lever on the wall. But it looks like this is an exit from here. Talyra and Virago, dazed as they are in this battle, look at each other and say, I think we've been here before. Talyra, actually it says the 2 hobgoblins who were here stand next to that lever. When we first encountered the Hobby Lobby in episode 1, they were behind the portcullis because the portcullis was raised. I'm going to go off the book and say this portcullis is raised. These 2 hobgoblins are here. Are they surprised or am I surprised? I'm the yellow. Once again, we're surprised. We rip that door open and the hobgoblins are there. The hobgoblins see these wounded yet fully armed humans and demi-humans come through here. 8 of them, and there are 2 of them, 2 hobgoblins. They flee, as I have refreshed myself on the rules for evasion, because I am surprised they have this moment to act and flee. And I may be metagaming not to roll morale there, But based on the sort of war of attrition that just happened in this room, I think these two hobgoblins see this like this bloody battle sort of explodes through this door. They don't know what to make of it. They run up and out. So they run out into the wilderness, and is there a key or anything? Nope. My party limps up this slope. Grebe and the Dobahai division are wondering, in fact, Blaine and Faqual are also wondering, like, are we even more lost than we were before? Talyra and Virago say, no, we know where we are. Keep going up. Get out of here. You'll see soon enough that we're next to the Ganfall Swamp. They start proceeding up this tunnel, but Talyra and Virago caution them, remain armed, stay on alert. Those hobgoblins are somewhere around here, and we know they'll be returning soon. Those two hobgoblins only had melee weapons, so wherever they have hidden in the underbrush or scrub of the swamp, they're not going to be able to attack from range. My party gets to the top there, breathing heavily. It's hard to know, for them to know, can they take the time to rest, to do anything? They don't think so. What I'll do is, when I get to the end of the hour and the normal wandering monsters check, I would do that would be those two hobgoblins outside wandering around trying to find. So the 10 of these minutes, they're finding their way around the Gunderholfen entrances, because there are 3. They know they can head back to the goblin entrance. In fact, that's probably the best case scenario for them, is to go back to the goblin entrance and come in there. Pretty sure that they have routed the goblins themselves. In the next 10 minutes, they're going to rest while keeping their eyes and ears open for any hobgoblins. Here comes that wandering monsters check. No, those hobgoblins have stayed off somewhere and are not pestering my party. Nonetheless, we're a little worried that they can pinch us in once we get into the goblin lair. This is not great. We come down. I think we've locked this portcullis because we have a key, and I believe our whole deal was, because we're coming and going through the hobgoblin lair, we're going to lock this portcullis behind us so that nothing can come in. But of course, now that we are on the outside and we need to get in, we're in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. So I'm going to do that force stuck doors check. This kind of sucks, but I've got a lot of people that can throw their backs into it. Talyra, Faqual probably hangs back. Actually, Faqual's got pretty decent strength. It's really Talyra whose strength is terrible. So those that can, try to force this stuck door. I got a 5 in there. I believe on a previous go through, I said 2 people have to do it, so I'm going to re-roll that. We're taking another round to do this. Yeah, it seems kind of ridiculous because inevitably I will roll 2 5s or 6s. There we go. But it does take, a minute or so of them all working on this together to open this up. Do those hobgoblins, are they encountered as they do this? Yes, those 2 hobgoblins show up while we are working on this stuck door. Are we surprised? 3. We are not surprised. So just as we're getting this to move up, 2 hobgoblins appear and bum rush us. They come in hoping to pinch us, seeing that we're getting this portcullis raised, and we roll initiative. 6. We get to act first. Talyra, bow. 17. Hits. 2 points of damage. It takes one of them right out. Zenith. Misses. Arrow flies off into the wilderness. I need to track my arrows a little bit. Any other ranged fighters coming in here? Nope. Okay. Grebe says, let's get this done. Charges forward with their warhammer. 12. 17 is not going to hit. Evelyn with a sword. 2 is not going to hit. Balad, very weakened, but here he comes. 14 is going to do it for 5 points of damage. Really hurts the remaining hobgoblin. And then Virago comes in. 8 points of damage. Cuts that hobgoblin in half. They drop right here outside the portcullis. We walk in, drop that portcullis again, make sure it is locked with the key, and really take a breath. Okay, I'm going to do some accounting of my arrows. Well, I found a quiver with 19 in it in that room, so I'm just going to say those are spent in the last few encounters, and that'll just keep my inventory even. We move down this hallway. We are fairly certain this whole thing has been abandoned. We do have this one worry here, but I believe we locked these doors, like jammed that door up right there. So we get down here. I mean, it's not going to take us a turn to get down in here. This door is spiked, I believe, from the inside. I really locked myself out here when I did this. So doing that force doors check. Everybody's going to participate. Ooh, that was somebody's success. I'm going to count that. Yeah, we get several successes. Break this door open and see our stash in there. The stash here is basically the armory from the hobgoblins that we liberated and moved here. We can't move it back to Longfeld. I'm wondering now why we would have cared about getting this door. I think we needed to determine if it was still there, because there's no sense in going to Longfeld, hiring retainers to help us move this. What we're going to do is go to Longfeld, hire a wagon and some hirelings, retainers, to drive us back out to Gunderholfen. We're going to load all this up and we're going to take it back to Longfeld. We now know that it's all there. So we leave rations, healing potions, torches, iron spikes. We spend the next hour or so moving a lot of this rubble here so that entrance is mostly blocked, somewhat trapped. So if someone tries to come south here, we hear them. What we're going to do is leave the Dobahai division here to guard our treasure stash. We leave them this key. We leave them this key. This is blocked. These are spiked. This door is now broken. One of them accompanies the rest of the party out and then locks this gate. And what the Dobahai division will do is patrol this hallway, a couple of them, while a couple of them guard the treasure just through the night. Talyra, Virago, Faqual, and Blaine, in fact, everybody that rests for a bit, has a ration, takes care of themselves as much as they can for the day. We don't really want to travel at night, but we also don't want to give the hobgoblins any time. So through this afternoon, as we're getting ready and resting as well as we can, I know I marked off the afternoon here, but it's not yet sundown when we take off. And we head through the Gunderholfen swamp. We are moving quickly, the four of us. We tell the Dobahai division to expect us the next day, but we want to set the expectation that it might be a couple of days. Through the night, there are 3 encounter rolls in the Gunderholfen swamp. Nothing on the first. Nothing on the second. Something on the third. Gunderholfen swamp has a D20 for the encounter. 18. That sounds terrible. Ooh, I do not like this. 2 harpies is what I have rolled. It's nighttime. 2 harpies out there. Gonna have to do some monster looking up. How far away are they? They are 110 yards away. I'm gonna roll a surprise, basically seeing if either of us noticed the other. So I'm yellow. Am I surprised on a 2? I might be. Yep. So we don't see these harpies. There are only 2 of them. They're a pretty tough monster. I think 2 of them would decide to take on 4 humans. I would also say that none of my characters knows what a harpy is. So somewhere 100 plus yards in the distance, these things are flying. Same HD, so it has the lower body of a giant eagle and the upper body and head of a hideous looking woman. They fly 150 feet in just like normal turn movement. So it would only take them about 2 turns to get next to me, or near enough that they could attack. So it's going to take 20 minutes for them to get to me. If a turn is 10 minutes, I believe that's how that works. They have 150 feet per turn as they're flying. We're 100 yards away, so about 300 plus feet. So yeah, 2 turns, 20 minutes. That's going to give me another couple of opportunities to see what's coming at me. I do think that technically what I would do here is roll the reaction, like do those harpies come for us? Yeah, let me disclaim responsibility for that. A 10. The monster is neutral. So they keep their distance, maybe sort of heading my way, just seeing if we're easy pickings. So within the next turn, I will roll again to see if I'm surprised. This point, because I'm not surprised, one of my party notices. Virago looks up, sees these giant flying beasts, isn't sure what they are. It's nighttime. They're only seeing these giant eagles in the moonlight, and tells my party to take cover, get down low. I don't like the looks of that, but let's keep moving because we can't afford to be sitting ducks for an attack right now. I want to see if I've got any tactics for the Harpy. They do have that charm song, but because I rolled a neutral reaction, maybe they're not trying to eat me today. Virago also instructs let's move away from them, so we then go into as quick a movement as we can to get away from this danger. I'm curious, one thing I have not looked up before is the getting lost. We're in a swamp. So as we're moving away, do we get lost? 1 through 3 is lost, we get lost. So we wander off the trail that runs through the Gunderholfen swamp. This is going to slow us down. So I think it's maybe not going to take an entire watch, but there's 3 encounters during the night. This is going to add a couple of encounters to my party traversing the Gunderholfen swamp. We are lost. I just know from the map there's not a lot of places. I mean, there are definitely places for us to get lost, but I'm going to say we are wandering southeast at this point off the trail. I love this. The DM must keep track of the party's actual position and the direction the characters think they are going. So I'm keeping track of that. We think we're able to discern sort of cardinal direction. We know where the moon is and we know we're headed south. We just don't know how far off the trail we've wandered. So I'm going to say it takes 2 more encounters for us to get back on that trail, but we're probably going to keep this up for a couple of hours just to try to get away from those harpies. If I roll an encounter, I think it might be the harpies again. So here come those 2 encounters. Once the sun comes up, we're not going to have to worry about this. Nothing on that first encounter. Virago's leading the way, thinking they know how to get there. Nothing on the second encounter. We appear to have lost the harpies. That is the end of the day of the 27th. It takes 2 watches for us to completely get back to Longfeld. On the second watch, because it's daytime, I'm going to roll 3 more encounters. Nothing. So we have lost those harpies as we've gotten through the Gunderholfen swamp. I am now able to breathe as we go to a familiar gate in the city and re-enter Longfeld. Unlike other days, we don't proceed directly to the Silver Flogger Inn, where we would normally drop our stuff. We immediately head to the adventurer's shop and smithy and look for Harford, the armorer and weaponsmith that we have talked to. We also run into Pultaney and Gunth, who work there. One is a retired bounty hunter and one is a blacksmith. They are all 3 brothers. Virago approaches them. They recognize them, and Virago hails and says, Harford, we are in desperate need of your help. As the night has passed, though, let me do some accounting. Grebe, I should maybe roll encounters in the dungeon, has regained 1 hit point, as has Evelyn and Ballad. Virago greets Harford and says, we are in desperate need of your help and we're willing to pay, but we think there's reward for you at the end of this. Harford says, well, we've had a great arrangement so far. Tell me what's happening. And Virago explains, remember those weapons that we sold you a few days ago, that armor that was fitted for hobgoblins? Well, we were able to clear out the rest of that armory. We have 10 falchions, 20 halberds, 5 spetums, 5 ranseurs, 2 bardiches, 10 spears, 5 scimitars, 25 morning stars, 8 large shields, 400 arrows, quivers, and 4 more suits of hobgoblin mail. Harford's jaw drops, and his brothers Pultaney and Gunth walk over to this discussion that's happening, and they're like, you are kidding. That is enough for an army. They're asking all sorts of questions. How did you get this out? How many hobgoblins were there? Did you get in any fight with them? They can tell Virago is badly hurt still, is healing, but showing the scars and the dried blood. And Virago says, obviously we can't move this by ourselves. So we need to hire a wagon, some horses. We need to all drive out there. We're afraid that our friends our party members that we've left guarding this could come under attack at any time. So we need to get out there, grab all of this loot, and get back to the city. When we do, we're happy to sell it to you, give it to you. Like we need a good trade where we all profit in this. The brothers are all nodding. They want to converse, and Virago says, "There's no time. We have to go now." And we'll find out what happens in session 12.